This is your time. The time where you take risks. You take chances. Push everything aside that's telling you no. You have the possibility to shape your identity, to construct and build your life into the power you can achieve. Nothing here is stopping your progress except yourself. You're the only thing that's holding you back.
If you want to become successful in life, number one, you got to change your mindset. He said, you don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. Develop your communication skills, because once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. I believe that all of us are born unique, but most of us die copies. You got to find out what is it that turns you on, what resonates with you. One of the things that I realized and what allowed me to become successful as a speaker, the speaking industry has been hijacked by people who speak to sell, and it's okay to do that and make money. I speak to change lives because somebody spoke and changed my life. So this is my passion. This is my drive. This is something that I feel in my heart. And so the key to that hunger-driven life is a heart-centered life. I didn't do what I'm doing for years because of my programming, because of the culture in which I was raised in. I would see other people with degrees and PhDs and MBAs and credentials I don't have, and I convinced myself I couldn't do it. But Mr. Washington, on that day, we became friends, and he taught me not only someone's opinion of you does not have to determine your reality. He said that you have to work on yourself. You have to have an unstoppable attitude, and no excuse is acceptable, and you've got to make it a priority, a non-negotiable in your life, and hold a constant vision of what it is you want to achieve. See it accomplished and go all out. Find a way to win in spite of the setbacks, in spite of the disappointments, in spite of your failures. I tell people when I'm giving presentations, you will fail your way to success. I have a saying, is life knocks you down, try and land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up.
Never let a situation or circumstance define your life, no matter what it may be. And understanding that you got something inside of you that's greater than a situation or a circumstance, but you have to constantly believe it, and not only believe it, you have to make decisions and choices every single day that put you a step forward toward what you believe your destiny is. In life, it's a lot of moments and it's a lot of people that change and impact your life, right? Like, I don't believe it's just one moment and you say, this one moment just changed my life. Even though that moment may have, but it's going to be another moment that's going to shape and change your life as well. Either somebody is in the midst of adversity, or just came out of adversity, or it won't be long before they head into adversity. So you need to be prepared either way. And so we all go through adversity, opposition. I think that's the thing that makes us all in common as people, right? No matter if you're from London, Atlanta, Florida, California, New York, like, we're all going to go through something at some point or phase in our life, right? And as cliche as it sounds, when a quote says, it's never about what happens to you, it's about how you respond to it. That's very true, right? But in the same sense, I think what's most important is when we go through something, what's the perspective that we have of it, right? Because for most people, when you go through something, the person's natural perspective is, okay, what did I lose? Right? What happened to me? Like, I took a loss, right? People never look at it and say, okay, man, tell me, what did you gain? Right? Even though I know it hurt, you didn't want to go through it, but look at it in a way to where you can say, what's the lesson in this? Right? What would you say life is trying to teach you from dealing with this? And so when I went through it, my perspective was, okay, what can I extract from it to apply to other areas and aspects of my life that I feel can help other people? And I firmly believe the quicker you can shift your perspective from yourself to others when you're in the midst of adversity, the quicker you'll get through it, right? Martin Luther King has a quote that says, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing to help other people? Now, I'm not telling you to not acknowledge your pain. I'm not saying that. I'm not telling you not to say, man, I'm going through this and it's hard. I'm not saying that. I'm saying when you go through it, look at it, step back from the picture and say, okay, I'm dealing with this. 9 out of 10 times, there's somebody else that's either dealt with it or they're going to deal with something similar to this. And if I deal with it in the right way, I can use it to add value to the lives of other people.
When you live a heart-centered life, deciding that you're going to live a life that will outlive you, you're going to live a life that counts, a life that will build a legacy and change the planet. You know, Horace Mann said, we should be ashamed to die until we've made some major contribution to humankind. Get to know yourself. That I believe that we're taught, be ye not conformed to this world, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Don't live the life that has been given you. When you go for a walk with someone, something happens without being spoken. He said either you adjust to their pace or they adjust to your pace. Whose pace have you adjusted to? And so there are things that we pick up and we think that they're our choices, but they're choices that we've been programmed by life to do. When we leave our homes in the morning, we're bombarded with over 6,000 advertising hits through Facebook, through Twitter, through Instagram, through television, through our phones and through our communities, and through the computers. And so all of these things are impacting us every day. So if you don't have a program for your mind, then your mind is going to be programmed. You'll find yourself doing things that you did not know, and that they affected you, that they, through marketing techniques and strategies, that they will create a thirst within you. You've got to have someone that can see something in you that you can't see, that can take you to a place within yourself that you can't go by yourself.
Stop overthinking everything so much. Realize that while you are trying to do a lot of things in your life at once, and you are trying to be better than you were yesterday, also realize you don't have to try to do anything. You just have to do, and you just have to be. And you have to understand the concept of you're not actually really doing anything, you're being done. Each and every day is an opportunity to get something from the day rather than just going through the day. But there are a lot of things that we can't always control. We can't always control the temperature outside. We can't always control what the birds are doing, or what the fish are doing, or what the animals are doing. But we can control what we're doing. We can control who we're hanging out with. So in a sense, we can get some control over the anxiety that we have. And the way that we're going to gain control over those things is think about some of the hurdles that we may have, some of the things that are blocking us from making quick action.
The reason that I think belief is important is because, like, when you're young or when you do something and you're a novice, right, and you start out doing it and you might think you can do something with it, or you might not. You might do it and it's being driven by your passion. And then somebody comes along that's a little bit older or even more experienced, and they can see it in a way that you can't see it, right? And so I think it's important with belief, because if a person believes in you in a way that you don't believe in yourself, you can rent that person's belief until you get strong enough to possess your own, right? And you use that person's belief to fuel you every single day, right? Because you can have a level of belief with what you're doing, but you can go back to a certain set of circumstances that tell you, nah, it's not going to happen. And so you rent that person's belief until you get strong enough to possess your own.
Life is an adventure, and it's going to be a challenge, and get ready because you're going to fail your way to success. You're going to get slapped around by life. And don't spend time complaining about it and telling everybody 80% don't care and 20% glad it's you.
I
I think they'll perceive you, because, maybe you grew up in a household where, things weren't accepted, or, maybe your parents didn't accomplish things, and then they put that kind of insecurity on you. These are the things that I feel like sometimes it prevents people from being who they want to be, because all it takes is somebody wanting to take a step, And there are certain things that a lot of people in this world is thinking in their mind, and they're not going to do. Like, I used to always try to pull a lot of people and be like, you can do this, you can do this. But the people that hear that motivation over and over again, sometimes they take that step. Some people just have it in them. Early, it just starts. And they just get in the muscle memory of just doing things. There's so many things in our lives that we are scared about, but we're still here. We made it past all these things. Like, if you fail, so what? You start over, you do it again. But most people, that fear of failure is the thing that I think prevents them from, like, really, really being successful. And then also, it's like a lot of other things that are just difficult to do. When you tell people the answer to success, it's a lot of hard stuff.
Let your success feel itself around you. Let it construct around you.
You got to work hard, right? Nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants a shortcut, Some people understand that. They appreciate the progress, If you tell people right now, hey, if you want to lose this many pounds, this is what you got to do. There's no short solution. But every time, there's still people out there selling whatever Herbalife treatment or whatever to try to get you the quick, short route, because people believe that, I'm going to do it the easy way. And there is no easy way. So when I tell people that, it's very blunt, it's very straight to it. You have to want to do it. But the best way I try to explain it is like, when you're chiseling on a rock, you can chisel for a long time. And you can chisel 100 times, 200 times, 300 times, and it won't break. And then when you get to 5,000 times, it finally breaks. But all the work that you did is what made it break. It's not like the last one just broke it. You know what I mean? It takes that, but sometimes people don't want to start that journey. They don't want to get on the mission of becoming the best that they can be.
Move away from your past and move toward a new purpose, a purpose that gives you the success you've always wanted, the success that leads you to a future you deserve. Bring your life into the direction you want, the direction to change your perception, your perspective. This is the power you've earned. Don't let yourself be taken by one more mistake. Don't let yourself slip from one more wasted opportunity. Have the confidence to take action. Have the confidence to appreciate the decisions you make, to make every choice with the purpose to change, to improve. As a collective, a society, we all want silver linings. We all want to succeed, to improve, to be better people. We all slip, but that's how life functions. That's the only way for us to learn. You can be more. You can have.
I feel like we spend way more time in our own minds than we do talking to other people. Like, you really spend a lot of time trying to figure it out. There's all these thoughts that come to you, whether it's like, things around you, people talking to you, people close to you, things you see, TV, whatever, and you're bringing in all these different things trying to figure out your path in life, So I think it starts with having some real understanding of what your strengths are. It's about being honest. A lot of people just aren't honest with themselves. You're telling yourself this thing, but you there's so many people that say, oh, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur, I'm gonna do this, and if you really dive down into deep, they don't really believe it, and that's okay. You can unlock that, but you have to figure out how to unlock it. There's a conscience that's sitting right here telling you this thing, and you try to brush it off. You have to be very honest with yourself, and then if you're not, that doesn't mean you can't succeed. It means that now you're very honest and knowing you're not as good, and then you can work on getting good. But if you think you're already good at it, you don't work on it. So I spent a lot of time just reflecting on man, what am I good at? I used to think I'm going to the NBA. I was unrealistic about it. You start to see people that are way bigger, way faster, and you're not telling yourself the truth. You're just like, no, I'm going to the NBA. You start with doing what you're passionate about, right? Because there are a lot of people that are going through life right now trying to figure it out. Man, I don't know what I want to be. I don't know. I was at that moment. It's not about money. I want to make it very clear. The money will come if you focus on passion, you focus on information and relationship. And I'm going to stand on the top of the mountain and sing that all day. And hopefully it has a real impact on people's lives. And I'm going to feel good about that. I'm not going to feel good if I go to the grave as being the only person with the information and the money and I just had all this money. I'm going to feel good if I'm able to impact a lot of people and that don't have access to this information and a good life, a quality life, and they have one. That's awesome. That makes me feel real good.
I think the true measure of wealth is happiness, right? Like, I really do. And it's not saying that I'm against money. I'm not against that at all. Because you gotta work hard, make your money, take care of your family, and be able to bless people. But I think it's a lot of people with so-called wealth, and they don't have joy and they don't have happiness, right? And I feel like joy, happiness, and peace is the most important things we can possess, right? And for most people, the material possessions they feel are the most important. For me, when you got joy, when you got peace, when you got happiness, I think that's true wealth, because you can't put a price on that. Having a purpose is that thing that makes us tick, that gets us up every day and gets us over the hump of opposition and adversity. And the reason that I champion adversity and opposition is because I think for the most part in life, people pretty much know what to do when things go right. Right? Like, when things go right, they know how to feel, they know how to act, how to react. But it's when that opposition and that adversity comes and it creates a level of misunderstanding, right? Now the vision is blurred. Now you don't have clarity about what you're supposed to do. Now you question if your existence matters. And I think when you have a purpose, it's powerful, because in the midst of the opposition, it makes you realize that you've been put here for a certain reason. You can be great, but you're living on reserve, right? You didn't empty the bucket, right? You didn't give everything you had to every aspect of your life. Like, for most people, they're great professionally, but they end up becoming a public success, and behind closed doors, they're a private failure. Not because they don't have the talent or the skill set, they don't have the character, right? That they can apply it and be consistent in every aspect of their life and empty out everything they got to everything, right? Now, one would say, okay, well, when do you tone it back, right? You find pockets to turn it back, right? Of course, you don't just give everything you got all the time, right? You get to a point where you learn to be efficient and effective in every aspect of your life. And for most people, it's not a problem of skill set. It's a problem of character. And empty the bucket is having the right character to be consistent and empty out everything you got in every aspect of your life. Either somebody is in the midst of adversity, or just came out of adversity, or it won't be long before they head into adversity. So you need to be prepared either way. And so we all go through adversity, opposition. I think that's the thing that makes us all in common as people, right? No matter if you're from London, Atlanta, Florida, California, New York, like, we're all going to go through something at some point or phase in our life, right? And as cliche as it sounds, when the quote says, it's never about what happens to you, it's about how you respond to it. That's very true, right? But in the same sense, I think what's most important is, when we go through something, what's the perspective that we have of it, right? Because for most people, when you go through something, the person's natural perspective is, okay, what did I lose? Right? What happened to me? Like, I took a loss, right? People never look at it and say, okay, man, tell me, what did you gain? Right? Even though I know it hurt, you didn't want to go through it. But look at it in a way to where you can say, what's the lesson in this? Right? What would you say life is trying to teach you from dealing with this? And so when I went through it, my perspective was, okay, what can I extract from it to apply to other areas and aspects of my life that I feel can help other people? And I firmly believe the quicker you can shift your perspective from yourself to others when you're in the midst of adversity, the quicker you'll get through it, right? Martin Luther King has a quote that says, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing to help other people? Now, I'm not telling you to not acknowledge your pain. I'm not saying that. I'm not telling you not to say, man, I'm going through this and it's hard. I'm not saying that. I'm saying when you go through it, look at it, step back from the picture, and say, okay, I'm dealing with this. 9 out of 10 times, it's somebody else that's either dealt with it or they're going to deal with something similar to this. And if I deal with it in the right way, I can use it to add value to lives of other people. Like, when we go through a situation and circumstance, it's easy to step back and think, man, I just went through this and it's just my experience. I firmly believe when we go through things, It's for us to deal with it, get over it, and reach back over the hill. It's a great perspective, right? But when you get through it, right? Maybe you can't help them when you're in the midst of it because you're processing it. But when you get over the hill, I think it's important and I think it's vital that you reach back over the hill and help somebody that may be going through a similar situation, and you can share your values and principles with them, because that experience that we go through and we deal with, it's not just for us.
Before the sun rises is the time of least distraction. Before the sun rises, where you can build intimacy and fluency with what you want to stand for in your day. Before the sun rises, the luxury and tranquility of the early morning hours, you can do that deep inner work that will allow you to go out in the world and play at your best. We live in a world where a lot of people are busy being busy, but what's the point of being busy around climbing the wrong Mount Everests? And so clarity is one of the DNAs of mastery. But if you look at the greatest billionaires, if you look at the greatest producers on the planet, these people have one thing in common. They are ridiculously curious. And no matter how much money they make, and no matter how much impact they have, they maintain a white belt mentality. One of the keys to epic performance is a relentless commitment to daily growth. As you begin your day, so you handcraft the rest of your day. And if you have consistently great days, you're going to have consistently great weeks, quarters, a year, and a lifetime. We live in a world that suggests the doorway to success swings outward. If you build the business, if you get the jet, if you get the money, if you get the cars, if you get the beautiful spouse, then you're going to be happy. What I believe, and there's a model in the 5 a.m. Club that I think is a very disruptive model, but it's a transformational model. And it's called the 4 interior empires. And it's not just mindset, it's mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set. But I worked on those 4 interior empires when I was a very unhappy litigation lawyer. Like, I'd made money, I was successful, I had 2 law degrees, and yet I'd wake up every morning, Tom, and I'd go into the bathroom mirror and I'd look at myself and I was a completely empty person. And nothing is more expensive than losing your joy and your peace of mind. And so what I did was I started working on myself. You know, I worked on my mindset and I read all the books and I went to the courses, but that's only your psychology. And I think that's one of the missing links in our field, which is everyone's talking about mindset. But mindset is just your belief system. It's just your psychology. It's very important, but that's 25% of the personal mastery equation. I believe the second piece is your heart set, and I worked on that. Purifying your heart. That's your emotionality, not just your psychology. You're never going to make history dominate your domain and handcraft a world-class life if you've got a great psychology, but you're carrying the pain and sadness, disappointment and trauma of the past. So I worked on my heart set, your health set. Don't die. If you want to change the world, like, dead people don't change the world.
What have you done today to be different? What have you done to step outside the conventions that you set for yourself? The conventions and the rules set by your past. Today, you have the power to move on. Today, you have the power to move away from your past and move towards a successful future. This is your decision, your call to make in your future. This is how your life can gain its own direction, and this is where your life can be so much more, so much better. You can make it better. You have always had the potential to take one more step, the potential to take the risks others are too scared to take, because you are more and you are stronger, and you have the determination and the courage to be so much more. Know how to be someone better, to look for something better, to become someone with a purpose, to constantly look for change, to always look for somewhere to improve, for somewhere to be better, because this is where you begin. You own your success, so let it take control. Take control of your life and take control of your power. This is where the power is in your control. Get after it.
You go out in the world every single morning. People might ridicule you because every genius is ridiculed before they're revered. People might throw stones at you, but you use them to build monuments of mastery. People might not understand you, because any disruptor is going to be misunderstood. And even if you're an army of one, a Galileo or a Steve Jobs or a Phil Knight, you continue at all costs. So it all starts with who you are, because you'll never rise any higher than what's going on within you. What terrifies you most, go directly there. Because discomfort is simply growth in wolf's clothing. To lead and to become a great hero, or an everyday hero, the doorway is through embracing our suffering and doing difficult things. I think pleasure has been promoted too much in our society. Like, no great titan of industry, no legendary cellist, no great athlete. You know, the great ones all understand that suffering is the price of greatness. So how do we become braver? You do the difficult things that you don't feel like doing, but you know have the payoff. You know, be crazy. The great leaders are insane. And I say that they're insane to the majority. The great ones are all misfits. And they're all weird. I mean, the very nature of being a disruptor and a leader means you're not a follower. And if you're not a follower, then you're not buying the Kool-Aid that society sells you. If you're not a follower, you're not like this all the time looking for likes. If you're not a follower, you dress the way you want to dress. If people criticize you, yeah, they criticize all the great ones. Critics are nothing more than dreamers who got scared and never got off their chairs and got back in the game. So you've got to be willing to 5 a.m. Weird. Who does that? Why not sleep? Leaders have to be willing not to be followers.
Stop blaming others. Stop blaming people for the reasons you find yourself in now. Stop blaming your situation. Stop blaming your parents. Stop blaming the government. Stop blaming your genetic. Stop blaming your finances. Stop blaming your past. Claw yourself back into the light. Stop blaming everybody else. The only person you can truly blame is you, because you are the only person who can get yourself out of it. Live life a victor, not a victim. You might even be right. You might be poor because of your parents or broken because of your relationship you were in. But what does blaming people or society do for you? It will keep you in the same hole, and all you're doing is digging the hole even more. It's because your situation, where you, right now, hasn't changed. In order to go forward and to get out of the hole is growth. Instead of bringing other people down to your level, build yourself up to them. Claw yourself out of that hole, and you will get to see the sun once again. Massive success is how you prove people wrong and prove yourself right. The only way you get upstream is to swim against the current. You're permanently ruining your future. You're halting your progress. Life is made not to be easy. Not one's life is ever easy. How did you ever think you were ever going to make any progress? You can make this your time. You can take control of the life you want to live. Have the authority to know what you need to change, to know how to change, and then to take action. Have discipline for yourself into progress. Switch your routine. Make your life hard. Difficult situations force you to make improvements, force you to learn, to educate yourself. Prove this to yourself. Make others jealous. Make yourself jealous.
Like, you're gonna only be so pretty, you're only gonna be so smart, like there's things that are gonna be natural, and then there's things that you can actually control. I do believe, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong, I don't, but I do believe that work ethic is a taught behavior. It's something you do have more control over. I feel like there's a shift that can make people work harder. The big one that I push is, you're gonna die. Like if you're like to me, life is broken down into complaining and not. So if you're not complaining, right? Like we all have shortcomings and we all have strengths. And for me, it's like, why don't we just audit that? Like, why don't we just look at it that way and be like, all right, well, I'm good at this, but I'm not good at that. Like, and then I only focus what I'm good at, right? Like, I don't dwell that I can't fix shit around the house. I call somebody to fix it.
Don't lose yourself on the way to the top. There'll never be a better you than you.
Rarely is it a question of talent or technique. It's just one of belief and the concomitant will to kind of do something that either no one's done before, or even more, I think, to crack open the barriers that people consider impossible or undoable. And that kind of belief, I think, is rarer than talent. Talent it's around. And to have them both at those levels, there's only a few people that really have that, I think. In the history, they're the ones that have really changed things. When you're looking at everything, it's such a gift to be able to look at something and to love it for the sake of it. And nurturing and maintaining that is one of the hardest tests of any pro, much less for anyone to find, right? What is the Beethoven who never found his piano or harpsichord or, right? There's days you want to go out, it hurts, or you're sore, or you just suck. You're not making progress. You're ramming into it and you feel defeated. But that's the nature of love, you know? It's got hate in there, you know? It's got pain in there. And it draws you to it. That's the magnetism. I see people with talent, with all those things, but the one thing they don't have is that just love for doing it for the sake of it. And the sense of obligation to do something with what you're given, you know? There's something to that. It's important. I think getting what you want quenches the fire that got you there often. Unless it's something replaced by something more permanent, which becomes more intangible. I think the successes of winning, right? You want to be the best in the neighborhood and then win the local contest and then whatever. It just keeps going up. And then by the time you get there, you can have a stadium screaming your name. It's actually happened a couple of times to me. And there is a visceral exhilaration to it. There is. I've experienced that. I know what that's like. You land a trick and it just lights up. It's crazy. At the same time, it's hollow. It's hollow. That's not the thing that can drive you, at least not for long. It's being able to say, oh, I had that. I had a model, or I had people autograph, or whatever, all of these honors. Eventually, that stuff fades to just static, and you're left with you and you're bored. And if you decide that that's what you love, that's what you're doing, then your days are numbered. And so the trick is to always peel back of, why am I doing this in the first place? It is easy to say, and I think it's smothering to say, and often there's a culture of saying that if it cannot be proven, it must not be possible. And the big takeaway from that theorem is that there's lots of things that cannot be proven, though they are correct. Because we see things so often in front of us the way that it should be done, and it imposes a kind of barrier through what people know and see, a familiarity. But maybe you can change something within you that can be just outside a new set of axioms, some new skill set that will take you further. And I think that that's the history of development. And it's interesting how getting what you think you want can end up being the force that pushes you into, paint yourselves into a corner, pushes you into a group. There's something terrible to be top of the mountain, I'm the best, I'm the king, guarding it. There's a Nietzsche quote, right? What's left for you when you make it to the top? What? Lightning, you know? It's this mixture. Everybody has a unique set of variables that they can put into this and express their individual identity in a form of, call it greatness. That's something to be remembered. It's what you look for. So if there's anything, just find joy in what you do for the sake of it. And then recognize how you're being shaped in the process, and hopefully you become a better man through it. You know?
It's not fair. It's not fair your car broke down. It's not fair your friend passed away. It's not fair you were bullied. It's not fair that your business failed. It's not fair you lost all your money, and it's not fair that she left you. It's not fair because life is not fair. So now, you know it's not fair. What are you gonna do? You've already complained about it. Are you gonna keep whining? Or are you going to take accountability for it? Because what's more whining going to do? What's more complaining gonna do? It's not gonna change the fact that life can be unfair at times. So what do you need to do? You need to stop complaining, stop whining, stop playing the victim, and stop feeling sorry for yourself. And start taking control. Start being accountable. Start taking responsibility. Start changing your situation. Stop complaining about your life and start working on changing your life. Success does not come to those who complain. Success comes to those who change their circumstances when needed. You're not weak. You're power. You can change your circumstances. Circumstances don't make you. You make your circumstances.
Do what you can with what you have and where you are. No one said work 20%. No one said try a little less. Wake up with your own message in your head, the message that inspires you to work harder, strive for success. Stop waiting for the right time. The right time is now. Take it now. Work now. Be creative. Be strong. Be successful. What do you want to do right now? Do something meaningful with worth. Something that will impact your life. Impact it for the better. Make it better. You have it in you. Do what you can now, full of ambition, fulfilled to 100%. No more than that. Break down the walls that contain you, imprison you from achieving everything you have ever wanted. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, people who can see you rise, people who can see you move forward, not holding you back, people who move with you, not moving against you.
So finding friends of similar character and heart, that's important to me. I've tried for that.
Be the person you need to become. Feel the strength you always wanted to feel. See your courage as a superpower to help you progress, to boost your confidence, boost your life, upgrade it to be better, more fulfilling life. One where you and only you are in control.
What you do in these reflexive couplings shapes you. You shape it, it shapes you. You don't disconnect from that. You just tumble forward. Over time, you become what you do. And you find, hopefully, at the end of that process, you're not insufferable. That you actually have something to give and can be present, you know? So for all I've done, I appreciate. I don't look at it as much, but ultimately it just goes out there. It's just what you do. You just become one with that. I think that's been a key for me of why I've been able to sustain this fire that's so seemingly easily quenched. So when I see people who have had success, I see boredom for the most part in them. and then I see a tombstone. And circling back to what trophies and those things represented, right? Feynman, great physicist, said that fire goes away. I'm honored to have had the rippling impact that I have helped formulate the language of a community where others can help shape and express themselves in a process and connect. That to me, for people like me, that doesn't come easily. But ultimately, I just want to be a good man, you know? You ever hear that goofy internet thing of, found it, it's the stupid stuff that people send you. Can you name the last Nobel Prize winners and Olympiads, right? But you can name the 5th grade teacher that had faith in you, right? Is the people you touch singularly? It's a bigger testimony.
What does it take to be the best? Everything. Everything. You can't, you're gonna have self-doubt. You're gonna have tough moments. You're gonna have everything, you know. You're gonna have people talking bad about you, people putting you down, getting cut, you know. It takes getting up in the morning and doing the same. You know, I understand people talk about a lot of mental toughness, right? Mental toughness, you meditate and stuff. For me, honestly, mental toughness is getting up in the morning and doing the same thing, day in and day out, day in and day out, for whatever it takes, whatever that goal is, you know. And by doing that, you become the best, you know. And it takes everything. I mean, you have to, I mean, the 3 S's that I love, you know, suffer, you know, sacrifice. Suffer, sacrifice equals success. You gotta suffer, you know, it's gonna suck, you know, like, I mean, I worked, 15 hours a day, I'll get up, you know, and then trying to stay in shape. Imagine that, as a 17-year-old European in Boston, so there was a lot of suffer, a lot of sacrifice, you know, I didn't have any friends or girlfriend or anywhere to go, right? I was just working, and then success can be, you know, later, because I built this foundation. So it takes everything, you know, but it's not for long. You know, people think that to be great or to be something really good, it's a lifetime. It's not, you know, because once you achieve that, it's another thing, right? But by building the right foundation, day in and day out, you achieve something, and that leads to another thing, opens up to a different. It takes everything, you know, and what is everything is your mind and your body. You know, people are wishful thinkers. You know, I want to be the best, I want to be rich, I want to lose weight, whatever that, you know, the wishful thinking is, you know. But they hate to take the steps, or they take the steps and it's hard. You know, change is hard, you know. Changing your body, changing your mind is very hard, you know. And people stop. And people come to a certain point they break. So everything is making up your mind, mentally, and not giving up, but also physically pushing through your hardship, you know, when it hurts. To be an Olympian, right, you spend 4 years for 2 weeks, or maybe 1 week, because you might lose and get out. So it's a, you know, it's a crazy workforce and discipline and mindset, right? So to be able to play in Greece and then go have a chance to go to China, I was blown away by my ability, right? When you go about self-doubt, I'm like, there's no self-doubt. I'm like, man, now I'm the man, you know. So I was the captain, I was at the peak of, you know, the peak of my career. We just lost in Athens, and as a group, we were a young group that joined the team in 2000. We were young in Athens, and then we made a pact to ourselves that we're going to win gold in China. We actually made a plan, how, when, why, right? And we went to work. And slowly, you know, build the foundation. And in 2007, I was in Italy playing for the best team. I was the captain, making a ton of money, and then I turned, and then my Achilles snapped. I fall down in tremendous pain, because there's 2 ways to upset the Achilles. One comes out, you can walk and go to the doctor, or the second one is the hardest thing, it snaps in half. So I fall down, and I see my foot hanging, and I can't move my toes, my toes. I'm trying to, and I can't. I'm just crying because there's so much pain and shock. The doctor comes in, you know, puts his finger in the Achilles, and just, you know, it was just harsh pain. You know, it's like, oh, it's your Achilles. And I knew it then, Tom, that Beijing is done. And when he said that, I was like, no. And I just burst in tears. I'm like, in 7 years to build this, you know, truly American dream and hardship, it's over in a matter of 1 minute.
my self-doubt was like, I'm done with the USA team. And that scared me, because for me, that was the most important thing. Not professionally, not the money, being part of the USA team and that group of guys and that, that amazing tournament is just, there's nothing like that in life, because I already experienced it in Greece and now I'm the captain of the team. So that was the number one self-doubt, and that, kind of stroke of fear. I mean, I had to sit 26 days with a leg up above your heart, not move anything. And a lot of thoughts came to my mind, thoughts about quitting. I was 32. Thank God it wasn't social media back then. So, can be good, good and bad, right? But, friends were supportive, but they're like, man, 32, maybe take the real estate test. Maybe think about the future, maybe think about that. And then once all these people start doubting and start pushing me away, even my parents, my parents were still conservative and working on a small job, in a small town. I say, son, awesome, man, you made it. Like, what else do you want? Like, you're the man, like, for Albanian, that you're God. I said, but I want to be the best player in the world, and I didn't achieve that dream. Since 11, since 9, I'm like, my dream has been to be the best in the world. So why this injury will stop? So I started researching. I said, what is the comeback time for Achilles? I started doing a lot of research, and I made a bet with myself. It was weird. One of these nights, in Italy, as I got better, I had to wait 2-3 months to fly back to the USA. I was drinking wine, and I couldn't walk, still with crutches, and I said, you know what? It's gonna be a test between me and Achilles. Honestly, that was like, I made a bet with myself. I'm like, who's gonna win? So my mind started working on that moment of like, okay, how long does it take? What work do I have to do? How to do it? Where? And then once I had the plan, I just wake up every morning. I was the first one at the USA team, and ice, stretch, and the last one to go. So it was just a simple bet, me or the leg, and I won. At the Olympic team, every 4 years, the summer of Olympics, the coach comes in, brings all the guys, about 30, 40 guys that try out for 4 years, and then he sits down and tells the team who makes it or not. It's a very, very ruthless decision, right? And the coach comes in and he said, put the list of the team, and I got upset the first time, Tom, that I became Albanian, man. The Albanian of me came out, and I just became angry and loud. I'm like, what the fuck, like, why are you cutting me? Like, are you stupid? Are you crazy? And I'm cussing at the coach. He's like, he gets it. Thank God, he took the high road, just calmed me down, and we're just talking for 2 hours, and I was crushed. Like, I kind of went back to that old mentality, and that summer I kind of gave up, That summer I was just drinking, playing beach volleyball for fun. It was weird. It was just very odd mix of feelings, and I didn't know how to control them. I had no idea. Back then I was engaged, and then break up with my fiance too. I started doubting everything, right? And my Italian team that I was playing had a big contract for 3 years, massive amount of money, and they cut me. They said, we don't want to pay you, you're not ready yet. I'm like, I'm ready, look at me, I'm jumping, I'm running. No, you're done. So that month of August was very dark, 2008. I made a dream. I was on top of the mountain, and then it was not a roller coaster. It took a second. I was nobody. I just wanted to kind of get lost, forget about Europe, USA team, and everything. I should be on my own. It was the best medicine ever, because that's where you really find yourself. You gotta hit rock bottom, when they say it, right? And I realized that I was blaming everybody else but myself. I was like, man, I blame the coach, my fiance, the team, the Italian manager, everybody but me. First time in my life that maybe I'd become too cocky or confident, I don't know. But I realized I was blaming everybody else by myself. So I made another bet with myself. I said, from this moment on, I'll never allow anybody or anything else to dictate my life. It's gonna be my way. And I called the coach, I'm like, I wanna try out. I was 33, 34, the coach got pretty crazy. I'm like, I wanna try out. You put me at the bottom of the list, I wanna earn it back. And went to work. Instead of getting a crappy contract, I went to Italy, got a cheap contract, and I proved myself again, and I became the best in the world. You gotta hit that, it's about experience. I think like if you don't have that experience, if you're not confident to go through those experiences, right? When people go through tough times, they protect themselves. They go into this shell. right? Because we as humans, as you know, our mind, from back in the day, was to protect yourself. Everything is bad, and I was like, no. I mean, I have to take this risk. I have to push myself. I have to suffer. I have to sacrifice in order to achieve that success. Otherwise, I'll never be that guy that I wanted to. First of all, to get up every day and outwork others. Being a great teammate. Being a great part of whatever team it is. Wherever you are, at school, with your friends, at sports. Being a great person around your teammates. And lastly, it's like, don't burn bridges. I told my kids, because I went through a lot of ups and downs. So I burned a few bridges by mistake. I've mended those bridges now. I went back and apologized. Because I was in a dark space. But I said, you're as good as the person next to you. You're as good as that mentor or business person or teacher or coach. Alone is very hard to make it. People will actually help you if you ask for help, but you got to show them that you are hardworking, a good person. And then success always comes, whatever that is, monetary or passion or whatever that is for you. It always comes if you do that work. But it's not going to come to you. Nobody's going to give it to you. But when things are hard, when you're in a dark place, there's still light. It's just a matter of switching your mentality, switching that thought process, and continue to work for the right thing. And it's not scary. Just because they sound scary, they're not scary. It's just the way you look at them.
You got to get down this mountain. I see that fear, and I'm running right through it. There's nothing that's gonna hold me. There's times I'm flying in the plane, I'm like, this plane may go down. But, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with dying. That's because now it's like I know I'm doing everything I possibly can every single day to inspire and impact the people around me. And if I die, I know that I've done my part as much as I possibly can. That's the driving force of every day, pushing myself. And that's when I was like, I want to step up as more as a role model for this generation and be a better leader. Let me tell you, if I was able to do it, you can too. But you need to start making that choice. You need to make that choice right now for yourself. Figure out their why, man. It really comes down to that. But that's the truth. It's figuring out why are they doing it, and what really truly drives them to solve this problem. It's definitely tough for them, and the entrepreneurs definitely have their lows. Some of them don't make it. Some of them break, and they're just like, this isn't for me. And can anyone become a great entrepreneur? Yes. Do they have what it takes? Are they willing to do whatever it takes? A lot of people give up. That's just the truth. And you have to be resourceful. You have to be willing to get your hands dirty and do a little bit of everything in the beginning. But then it's like, okay, really buckle down and figure out what am I really, really passionate about? What am I really great at? What's that one thing that I can do the very best on my team to add the most value? Figuring out, okay, who do you really need? Who are the people that you need, around you, and what are you really truly great at? It's extremely important today that you understand how to share your story, how to document the process, how to put that out, how are people discovering you. In today's day and age, consistently day in and day out, you need to surround yourself with the right energy, the right people that are as passionate as you, like-minded people. That positivity and that energy is infectious. We live in this day and age where social media is so strong, right? And you can do so many great things and connect. But really digging into why are you here? What do you want to give to the world? And are you really discovering that within yourself? Because there's so much consumption happening on a daily basis because of social media and everything. You can get so caught up on living a script of what you think you should be doing, rather than digging down inside yourself and shutting off all the noise and figuring out what is it that what is it that you really want to do, and what is it that you want to give to the world. And I think that millennials right now, a lot of them haven't figured out who they really are. And like, because of the, and then they fear how people are going to judge them and what they look like and all that stuff, instead of like really figuring out who they really are, not trying to be something that they're not, and then starting living a true, authentic life and putting that out. I'm not afraid to fail. For me, there's nothing more powerful than creating something, and if it's going wrong, like solving, okay, let's pivot, let's figure out why it's not working, and continuing until we actually have built something that people see value in. Believe in something wholeheartedly and follow that with faith and courage to just go, and no matter what, be able to also, I think for me, leading is picking up the people around me and putting them before myself. Caring about everybody around me and putting them in a position to thrive and to succeed before myself, and basically leading by example of how you live your life. Leadership to me is character, who you are, not what you do.
When you make a decision, you can't just walk away from the decision and say it's somebody else's problem. The ability to embrace failure is for me, it's a strength, I think. But I'm not a quitter. And so if you have the two, you're not afraid to fail, but you don't quit when you fail, I think that's a pretty decent combination. I think it's important to avoid that pitfall. You have to surround yourself with people who approach things differently, who challenge you. We know that we have the ability to change the world. We know that we've already taken steps in that direction. If we don't follow it to the end game, people like you and me will wind up feeling totally unfulfilled and frustrated. You break it down to the problem, identify the root cause, and then you try and engineer a solution to the root cause of the problem. You take a series of steps so that failure isn't a fatal failure. If I can identify a problem early on, and then if I have help getting to the root cause, I can address the root cause problem with one step or another to make that no longer a lethal problem. But the fact is that if you're good enough to see an impending failure and address it, it's a hell of a lot cheaper, and it's a hell of a lot easier, and you get to sleep a lot earlier if you can do it before it goes completely haywire. What's the solution? The problem's identified, focus on the solution, and come up with a series of options.
Leadership is about vision and responsibility. It's not all about power. So you want to be a leader? You want to take control? Then I'll tell you what. Use your vision. Use your vision to take control of your life and change your perspective on life and change your perspective on what power means to you. Because leadership is so much more than just authority and power. You got to take action for the better and not just be selfish for your own means. To be a leader, you have to take responsibility. Not just when you make mistakes, but then also to embrace them afterwards. To make them and take control of them, and then even make them part of your leadership. You gotta do this in order to live honestly and free from fear of others' approval. Be the leader of your own life first. Go ahead and write out the instructions for your own life, and use them to take your journey to step on the right path. The right path towards success, because with that success, you're gonna be fueled and pushed automatically towards leadership. Be sure to control your potential as well. The potential that uses success to make your future a place where you live with courage and a life without fear of mistakes or limits. You wear the pants in your own life, so take what I'm telling you and use it to upgrade your life. You're going to want to use this to improve your future. You have that power. You have that potential. So use it. Use it for the better. Control your actions, because your actions that you make right now define your future. And how do you see your future? You see,
failure is a step to success. Falling down is a step to success. Losing is a step to success. Pain is a step to success. But quitting is not.
Never give up on what you really want to do.
This is the instinct that says, you've had enough. This is the instinct that says, you've given it your best shot. You can stand down. You can back off. You can take a knee.
Don't stop when you're tired. Stop when you're done. We are relentless. We are powerful. We are forward thinkers. We are the generation of hard workers, innovators, and creators. And we are the ones who never give up, never surrender, and never quit on our goals.
This is the instinct that says, you need less now. Do not listen to that instinct. Do not listen. That instinct is a liar and wants to bring you down.
You don't judge a person by where they stand in times of comfort and convenience. You judge them by where they stand in times of challenge and controversy. When you work for something, it gives you a different type of attachment to it. The harder you work, the harder it is to surrender.
As long as we're willing to put the work in, we will get there in the end. As long as we never quit.
This is all about the quitting mind. So what's the quitting mind? Let's say it's day one of a job interview. We all know what that fucking shit feels like. You have your clothes laid out. You got your fucking food ready to go in the morning. You've been preparing for weeks and weeks and weeks. You show up and you bring your best self. You get the fucking job. Merry fucking Christmas. All right. After a couple months, you start showing up to work a little later. You don't look as good. Your clothes aren't fucking laid out. Your breakfast isn't ready. Your mind's getting softer. We do that shit with everything in life. When New Year's coming up, guess what? Don't have a fucking quitting mind. Repetition every day. Stay hard.
And if you ain't got more heart than me, if you ain't been working harder than me, if you ain't sacrificed more than me, I'm gonna destroy you. And I'm not retreating. I'm not running. I don't care what they say on paper. I don't care how many games you won. I don't care if you say we outnumbered. We live by this and we die by this. We don't retreat. We don't run. Every man must search his own soul.
The biggest battle you will fight is with yourself. This battle will never go away. It's a fight you will have to battle for the rest of your life. You are the only person that can get yourself back up, but you're also the only person that can lie down and allow yourself to be defeated.
Don't fail yourself today.
Quitting is never an option.
Don't fail yourself today.
Because so many of our limitations are self-imposed, you know, and we set something up in our brain. We program our brain one way, and that's our limit. And until we can get past that and see what we're really made of, and like get uncomfortable and experience pain, you don't know what you're capable of.
When you feel you've exhausted every option, remember you haven't.
If I could count the amount of times I was told no, so I created the mentality in my head of taking no as no, not right now, not no, this isn't for you. If I had given up after the first time I had said no, I wouldn't be here. And so it just, not letting someone dictate your future. If you believe in something so strongly and you want to do something so strongly, who's going to tell you to not do it?
There's never a failure unless you quit. So if you keep going, there's not a failure. You just keep changing and moving.
The person with big dreams is more powerful than the person with all the facts.
But it's not so much about the opposition and the adversity that we face as it is about the perspective that we have about the opposition and the adversity that we face. Meaning perspective drives performance every day of the week. How you view what you do will always affect how you do what you do.
Don't stop when you're tired. Stop when you are done. Once a quitter, always a quitter. Prove them wrong. You are relentless. You will never stop. This isn't a game to you. This is life or death.
People don't burn out because of what they do. People burn out because life makes them forget why they do it. Character supersedes talent every day of the week. No retreat. No surrender. We live and we die by this. Every man must search his own soul. At a certain point, don't let your actions betray your words.
You are not going to give up because of a little pain. You won't quit because of a bad situation. It isn't in your nature to give up on this. You don't stop when you're tired. You stop when you're done. You stop when you get the job done. You finish when you have done enough work to make progress. A little pain along the way is your rite of passage. It is the battle scars of the successful, the marks of a warrior who succeed at this adventure through life. What will your scars say about you? How many battles will you pull through to come out the other side a winner? Come out the other side an ultimate version of yourself.
Never give up on what you really want to do.
Then they'll say it's not your fault. And they'll tell you it's okay to stop. It's okay to settle. It's okay to give up. And that is the instinct you need to fight. You need to push back, to smash into the ground. Do not take the easy way out.
You think that successful people have some lucky charm. Well, let me tell you something. I woke up this morning and I couldn't find my fucking lucky charm. I and other successful people wake up every day doing the same thing, fighting back against the distractions, the fears, the doubts.
Do not give up based on instinct. If you are forced to stand down, to retreat, so that you can rebuild and reattack, so be it.
And we learn over time, we build into a habit to spend more time having control instead of more time being out of control. It does matter.
But make that decision based on logic, not on the instinct of surrender and defeat.
Opposition, adversity, challenge. Never forget why you do what you do. I'm not talking about college. I'm not talking about when you first got to the league and you got drafted. I'm talking about when you was coming up and you was in the street or you was at the park and your mom had to go sacrifice and work so you get your pair of cleats. I'm talking about that bite, because everybody don't remember that.
Your will and desire to win are greater than anybody else's. I know you are aware of how bad you want this. I know you are aware of what you would give to succeed. I know you want this. I know it is all you want. I know what you would give for this. So do it. Show it. Prove it. Show the world. Show them that anything you can dream of can become your reality. Success is getting back up and learning from these falls, learning from the pain and the losses. Success lies in getting back to your feet and trying again.
I was just a young kid with a dream and a belief in himself. And for many times I was laughed at and not believed in. But you know what? Nothing external can can defeat the internal. The only thing that can take someone down or break you down is internal. Nothing external is strong enough. It's just about making sure your internal dialogue and your internal belief in yourself is strong enough that it can withstand the external. The external is there. You've got to accept it. You've got to embrace it. You've got to understand it and be aware of it. But don't let it seep into your internal dialogue.
Don't fail yourself today.
Like, you can be great, but you're living on reserve, right? You didn't empty the bucket, right? You didn't give everything you had to every aspect of your life. Like, for most people, they're great professionally, but they end up becoming a public success, and behind closed doors, they're a private failure. Not because they don't have the talent or the skill set, they don't have the character, right? That they can apply it and be consistent in every aspect of their life and empty out everything they got to everything. Right? Of course, you don't just give everything you got all the time, right? You get to a point where you learn to be efficient and effective in every aspect of your life. And for most people, it's not a problem of skill set. It's a problem of character. And empty the bucket is having the right character to be consistent and empty out everything you got in every aspect of your life. There was a lot of moments in my life to where it was people that saw things in me that I couldn't see in myself. And they believed in me in a way that I couldn't believe in myself yet. And I rented their level of belief until I got strong enough to possess my own. Right? It's like when you're young and they see you, and it's like even when you start out doing what you're doing, you could be talented, right? And somebody older than you or more experienced than you can see you and know, like, oh man, if he did this, or if he does this, then he could be great, right? And they can come to you and say, hey kid, man, you got something. Like, you could be great, right? Like, my teachers and my coaches, when they came to me and they was like, son, I'm telling you, you can go to college, man. Like, you really, I know you're talking about it, but your circumstances are saying different. I think you can do it, right? And when they said it, I'm like, oh, I can do it. Like, I can make it happen. Because they're believing in me making it happen, I think I can do it. Like, I think when you show people things, that's powerful. I think exposure sparks inspiration, right? Exposure sparks motivation. And my mindset can never go back to the way that it once was, because I have been exposed to something different, to something new. And so I think belief and exposure are two of the most powerful things that can happen to a person. Like, when you're young or when you do something and you're a novice, right? And you start out doing it and you might think you can do something with it, or you might not. You might do it and it's being driven by your passion. And then somebody comes along that's a little bit older or even more experienced, and they can see it in a way that you can't see it, right? And so I think it's important with belief, because if a person believes in you in a way that you don't believe in yourself, you can rent that person's belief until you get strong enough to possess your own. Right? And you use that person's belief to fuel you every single day, right? Because you can have a level of belief with what you're doing, but you can go back to a certain set of circumstances that tell you, nah, it's not going to happen. And so you rent that person's belief until you get strong enough to possess your own. I firmly believe every person's purpose is tied to somebody else's purpose and destiny. And so your purpose, my purpose, is tied to somebody else. Like, when I speak, when I do what I do, like, people say, oh man, I really needed to hear that, right? That helped me do this. That helped get me through this. That helped me with this. That's my purpose being tied to other people's purpose, destiny, beliefs, and dreams. That's the power and magic of purpose, right? I don't think it can be a purpose without being tied to other people's purpose, destiny, dreams, and aspirations, right? I think that's the power in it, but realizing it is another thing. The only thing I felt I had the advantage in my whole life was my work ethic, and I took pride in that, right? I was never the biggest, the fastest, the strongest, never had the most resources, but I had a work ethic. I think what's most important is when we go through something, what's the perspective that we have of it, right? Because for most people, when you go through something, the person's natural perspective is, okay, what did I lose? right? What happened to me? Like, I took a loss, right? People never look at it and say, okay, man, tell me, what did you gain? Right? Even though I know it hurt, you didn't want to go through it, but look at it in a way to where you can say, what's the lesson in this? Right? What would you say life is trying to teach you from dealing with this? And I firmly believe the quicker you can shift your perspective from yourself to others when you're in the midst of adversity, the quicker you'll get through it. I think having a purpose is that thing that makes us tick, that gets us up every day and gets us over the hump of opposition and adversity. And the reason that I champion adversity and opposition is because I think for the most part in life, people pretty much know what to do when things go right, right? Like when things go right, they know how to feel, they know how to act, how to react. But it's when that opposition and that adversity comes and it creates a level of misunderstanding, right? Now the vision is blurred. Now you don't have clarity about what you're supposed to do. Now you question if your existence matters. And I think when you have a purpose, it's powerful because in the midst of the opposition, it makes you realize that you've been put here for a certain reason. This too shall pass, right? And the reason I would say that is, like I said, I champion adversity, right? We know what to do when things go right. But the next time it gets tough, the next time you question your purpose, the next time you question your existence, your mission, if you're supposed to be doing what you're doing, and it gets tough and challenging, just whisper to yourself, this too shall pass. This too shall pass.
If you actually want something, you can have it. You have to treat yourself like you matter, because if you don't, then you don't take care of yourself, and you become vengeful and cruel, and you take it out on people around you, and you're not a positive force. None of that's good. So you suffer more, and so does everyone around you. And there's a malevolence that enters into it. None of that's good. So that's what happens if you don't treat yourself like you matter. The first thing I would say is, well, you should be afraid of taking risks and pursuing something meaningful. One of the main reasons that people don't get what they want is because they don't actually figure out what it is. And the probability that you're going to get what would be good for you, let's say, which would even be better than what you want, right? Because, you might be wrong about what you want easily, but maybe you could get what would really be good for you. Well, why don't you? Well, because you don't try. Life is a challenge that in some sense can't be surmounted, so there's no way out of your problem, but there are certainly proper ways of dealing with it. Yeah. Sit on your bed one day and ask yourself, what remarkably stupid things am I doing on a regular basis to absolutely screw up my life? I would say that the goal in life is to conduct yourself so that life improves. You should be more afraid of staying where you are if it's making you miserable. Clock is ticking. Yeah, and if you're miserable in your job now and you change nothing, in 5 years you'll be much more miserable and you'll be a lot older. People don't get what they want and they need because they don't aim at it. And it's a hard lesson for people to learn because they're cynical to begin with and they presume that there's no possible way of moving forward. But it's not so unreasonable to assume that you're not going to hit what you don't aim at, or you're not going to hit what you aim at and don't shoot at. We're built to contend with the world. We're built to contend with reality. You want a challenge, and the best way that you can take on a challenge, because a challenge fortifies you. So you don't want to be secure, you want to be strong. And you get strong by taking on optimal challenges. And so you lay out your destiny in the world, and you take the slings and arrows of fate. And you make yourself stronger while you're doing so. And you might fail, and fortune might do you in. But it's your best bet. A huge part of the reason that people fail is because they don't ever set up the criteria for success. And so, since success is a very narrow line and very unlikely, the probability that you're going to stumble on it randomly is 0. So you want to set yourself a task that's difficult, but not so difficult you can't attain it. And then what happens is that you step up improvement across time, incrementally. And there's also a certain element of humility to it, right? Which is, don't bite off more than you can chew, right? Don't set grandiose goals, but incremental improvement will get you a tremendous distance.
Not putting in the work. You have to do more.
And the only way to see who the baddest motherfucker is to suffer. You know, a lot of people don't like what I say. A lot of people hate that I cuss. A lot of people hate a lot of things about me. I don't give a. When you find out who you are, that's when you start living your life. Don't fit in just for the sake of fitting in life. Make sure that you have something to say it. Within the suffering, go in there, and I call it the live autopsy. The live autopsy. How you find out someone died? They crack you open after you're dead. How you can live is do it while you're alive. And the only message I want to get across to people is once you change one thing, your mindset, you can attack everything. Go back in your brain, crack it open while you're alive. Don't wait until you're dead to figure out why you died. Do it while you are living. Go in there, go into the suffering, go into the pain of your life and say, why did this suck for me so bad? Why am I afraid of all this stuff? It's in these nooks of the suffering within your brain, in the scarring, are all the answers to why you are on the couch feeling sorry for this.
You gotta stop telling yourself that you're doing enough. In life, it's never enough until you feel this overwhelming feeling of, man, I'm outworking the crowd. I'm outworking everybody. I'm doing more. It's not until then, once you get there, that's when you can know you've done enough.
In failure and in suffering, all the answers are in there. All the answers to all the test questions. The test is your life. All the answers are in there. You don't have to live in suffering and pain and failure all the time. You have to learn, I need to visit it. Like people hate working out. You're only going to visit working out maybe an hour a day. 23 other hours of the day, you're not in it. But how you become in shape is you must visit suffering, visit working out 1 hour a day. All I wanted people to do in my life, I don't care about the money, I don't care about the fame, I don't care if all my followers go away tomorrow. I wanted a lot of people that doubted me to look like Apollo Creed did in that 14th round because I got back up repeatedly. And when you keep on getting back up like that, no matter how strong the person is that's beating the out of you, they eventually look at you and say, you know what, I'm tired. And I just want people to be tired. It's funny. I walk around, people come up to me and they say, man, you're that Navy SEAL, you went through Ranger School, you were, Air Force TAC P. The funny thing about it that I think about is this. They know that part of me. This is the part I know about myself. I failed the ASVAB test to get in the military 3 times. In the Air Force, failed at pararescue. In the SEALs, it took me 3 times to get through Navy SEAL training. This is what I know about me. So what I'm saying is this. You can't live your life being afraid to fail. All those failures made me the success in the day. Most people who are failing are trying their ass off. I don't want to set out and say, oh, there's an A. We're good. Stupid. No. I want to turn it in 1,000,000 times and say you failed. You failed. And I say, okay, roger that. And sit there and analyze what I'm doing wrong.
Never forget to train your mind.
Make sure in life you do what you have to do, say what you have to say, and live the life that you have to live. Don't walk around being a fake human being. Don't be scared to be who you are. Look at your audience who's criticizing you, first of all. Yep. They're not even in your world.
Yes.
You don't even talk to me.
Yep.
Block them out. Go to these places that people don't go to anymore because all this social media and everything's computerized. I want to go to that dark place in my mind and say, okay, how are we going to get this done? When I was 297 pounds and I was fat as hell trying to be a Navy SEAL, the scariest thing in the world to me, even to this day, was that that could have been the rest of my life. I thought then I was trying hard. And sometimes life is fucking hard. So when I first joined the Navy, I had to join the reserves because I couldn't get into active duty because I was so fat. So being a reservist, I got titled a lot of times as a weekend warrior. In the reserves, you work 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. A lot of us live our lives that way. We can't work out without purpose. The biggest purpose in life isn't all that. It's how you respect yourself, how you look at yourself. That's an everyday journey. You're not working your butt off hard enough. You're not trying hard enough. We all think we're trying hard, but what are you gauging that off of? In life, a lot of us work our ass off, trying to get to a better place, a place that makes us feel better about ourselves. But guess what happens? Once you get to the actual event, your mind isn't ready. Your mind's not prepared. You've been studying, you've been training, you've been working out, but your mind's not prepared. Story for you. When I was 19 years old, I was going through the Air Force trying to be a pararescueman. I was doing push-ups, sit-ups, swimming. I was doing all this, knocking out of the park. One of the best in the class. But the second an obstacle got in my way, I wasn't prepared for it mentally. So every day you should be getting after it. We look at determination, self-discipline. We look at hard work. All these terms, it's almost like we dread them. Almost like a fucking punishment. Those are the biggest words of all time as far as respecting yourself. Trying hard is something in your mind just doesn't stop. Only those people who have been there 1,000,000 times in their minds and have suffered 1,000,000 times and realize my legs may break, my knee may break, and accept that. I know right now, whether you hate me, love me, I'm a this, I'm a that, whatever you want to think, I made it.
The Washington Bullets select Tyrone Bogues.
Now they got the call up from the shortest. Tyrone Bogues, he is now the shortest player in the NBA. Tyrone Bogues from Wake Forest.
At the age of 5, I got shot. Growing up in the city of Baltimore was challenging. As a kid, it was a lot of drug-infested areas in our neighborhood, a lot of shooting, a lot of violence. Unfortunately for me, at the age of 5, I got shot. Being outside, being at the wrong place at the wrong time. My mom and dad was going crazy, not knowing that I was outside, and then knowing that, I was one of the kids laying out there with a couple buckshots all over his body was very frightening and scary for them as well as myself. But it was our life. It was a man of growing up. I mean, no one thought they have a life expectancy past 20. Which was very strange, knowing that was the case. But that was the mindset back then, because we had a lot of guys at a young age dying, mainly because they wanted that fast money. They wanted to get into that world a lot sooner, and they wanted to, possibly take care of their family as well as to try to provide for their household. So, people did all sorts of things in terms of trying to make ends meet. But luckily that we had a game called basketball and sports. Sports was really a mechanism that kept us really at a safe. It kept us where it gave us a safe haven place to really feel comfortable at. That was a way of keeping us, off the streets, keeping our mind, active in other areas, as opposed to thinking about, hey, it's time to try to go over and get a few of those quick dollars. At that time, I had no inkling or no idea that, I wanted to pursue this as a career. It was just a hobby. It was just something that I wanted to do. But unfortunately for me, being small and trying to play a sport that didn't know at the time was supposed to have been meant for a bigger, taller player, got a lot of criticism from it. A lot of backlash, a lot of name calling, which could affect your confidence. Well, at the beginning, it was challenging. It was tough. Many days, many nights going home, just crying to my mom and just telling her how cruel the kids are out there, and how mean they were. I wanted it all. I wasn't just going to satisfy with what someone else.
To change.
You know what? You said I couldn't do it, but guess what? I started in 2 weeks.
We bought into this complete falsehood that at some point you're going to have the courage. At some point you're going to have the confidence, and it's total bullshit. Maybe watching this right now, and you have these incredible ideas, and what you think is missing is motivation.
Failure is part of life. The difference for me, though, is I look at failure as a stepping stone to success. It's a speed bump.
Every time you learn something, you learn because something you did didn't work. And that exposes you to the part of the world that you don't understand. Every time you're exposed to a part of the world that you don't understand, you have the possibility of rebuilding the structures that you use to interpret the world.
I know I'm going to fail, but it's not failure if you learn something. And so every time I do, it just becomes a way for me to explain to someone else what it takes.
That's often why it's more important to notice that you're wrong than it is to prove that you're right.
People don't value what they don't fight for.
Baby steps count too, as long as you're going forward. And one day you add all those baby steps up and you might be surprised at where you can get to.
People have an unbelievable capacity to face and overcome things they don't understand. And not only that, that's essentially what gives life its meaning. The Buddhists say life is suffering. And you think, well, if that's the case, why bother with it?
Well, now that we can see how short life really can be, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? That's a trigger. That's the biggest trigger that I have ever experienced. What are you going to do the rest of your life? The cavalry ain't coming. You got to do this yourself. Ain't no backup. Okay?
Our minds are designed to stop you at all costs from doing anything that might hurt you. And the way that this all happens is it all starts with something super subtle that none of us ever catch. And that is with this habit that all of us have that nobody's talking about. We all have a habit of hesitating. We have an idea. You're sitting in a meeting. You have this incredible idea, and instead of just, saying it, you stop and you hesitate. Now, what none of us realize is that when you hesitate, just that moment, that micro moment, that small hesitation, it sends a stress signal to your brain. It wakes your brain up, and your brain all of a sudden goes, oh wait a minute, why is he hesitating? He didn't hesitate when he put on his killer spiky sneakers. He didn't hesitate with the really cool track pants. He didn't hesitate with the NASA t-shirt. Now he's hesitating to talk. Something must be up. So then your brain goes to work to protect you. It has a million different ways to protect you. One of them is called the spotlight effect. It's a known phenomenon where your brain magnifies risk. Why? To pull you away from something that it perceives to be a problem. And so you can truly trace every single problem or complaint in your life to silence and hesitation. Those are decisions. And what I do and what's changed my life is waking up and realizing that motivation's garbage. I'm never going to feel like doing the things that are tough or difficult or uncertain or scary or new. So I need to stop waiting until I feel like it. And number two, I am one decision away from a totally different marriage, a totally different life, a totally different job, a totally different income, a totally different relationship with my kids. Your life comes down to your decisions. And if you change your decisions, you will change everything.
What makes life powerful and meaningful and substantive is the expiration date.
you do what you love doing and you do it well, then everything should sort of fall into place.
If we were to live forever, we could be slowful and lazy and indifferent because we'd have forever to get it straight. But the fact that the clock is ticking puts a sense of urgency on each and every one of us. And I know you're saying, well, I'm 20, I don't need to hear. Yeah, you do. You need to hear that because you won't be 20 long.
So many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. What we really want seems impossibly out of reach and ridiculous to expect, so we never dare to ask the universe for it. I'm saying I'm the proof that you can ask the universe for it.
In a few months, you'll be 21 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and it's ticking on everybody. Procrastination then becomes an enemy because we cannot afford to procrastinate with a time that we do not have. Most of us right now are looking at where we are with a certain degree of disdain, expecting to have gone further than where we are by now. We look back and wonder, was I really a good steward of the time that God gave me?
Imagine, if you will, being on your deathbed and standing around your bed, the ghost of the ideas, the dreams, the abilities, the talents given to you by life, and that you, for whatever reason, you never acted on those ideas. You never pursued that dream. You never used those talents. We never saw your leadership. You never used your voice. You never wrote that book. And there they are standing around your bed, looking at you with large, angry eyes, saying, we came to you, and only you could have given us life. Now, we must die with you forever.
Did I really maximize my life?
The question is, if you died today, what ideas, what dreams, what abilities, what talents, what gifts will die with you?
The truth of the matter is, no matter how productive you are, all of us have been guilty of wasting days and wasting time and sometimes wasting opportunities along the way. In fact, what makes you start to get wiser as you get older is that as the sands begin to fall more rapidly and you begin to recognize that you're running out of time, you begin to mark certain things off of your list. I'm not going to let that worry me. I'm not going to let that worry me. This was not important. I'm not going to do that stupid thing again. I don't have time to make that mistake. I've got to redeem the time. I got to make it count. I cannot mess this up. My time becomes more valuable the more it becomes limited.
My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant. And when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job. And our family had to do whatever we could to survive.
Death is the destination we all share. No one has ever escaped it. And that is as it should be, because death is very likely the single best invention of life. It's life's change agent. It clears out the old to make way for the new. Right now, the new is you. But someday, not too long from now, you will gradually become the old and be cleared away. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is second.
I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail if you don't learn. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.
What makes life powerful and meaningful and substantive is the expiration date.
I have spent my whole life scared. Frightened of things that could happen. might happen, might not happen. 50 years I spent like that. Finding myself awake at 3 in the morning. Do you know what? Ever since my diagnosis, I sleep just fine.
My history did not have to become my future.
For whatever reason, most people, their associations are to avoid anything that's uncomfortable. But it's so
destiny, and I start to understand that I was in position to do that. And you know, when I became 12 and 13 years old, you know, words never matter. You know, it came in one ear out the other. You know, I was on a journey, I was on my path, trying to become this basketball player that no one felt like he had any, you know, any opportunity to do so. Little jokes that was out there, you know, you're short, you know, you need to be sitting on the curb with your feet swinging off, you know, we could put you in the drawer when we're traveling, you know. As they said, growing up as a kid, when they say sticks and stones may hurt your bones, but words will never hurt you. It's not true. Words will hurt you now, and they killing folks. So words are very powerful. And, you know, that was very deterrent at the time, but it didn't distract. Because your heart, you know, it measured. It pretty much doesn't have a height to it. You know, it pretty much set the tone of who you are and what you're able to accomplish. You know, and the height factor was the game of basketball. So, you know, my heart was bigger than my height. So I didn't have no second or no hang-ups on believing that I belong with, you know, the best of the best. You know, because my heart was just as, you know, just as big as theirs. Things that happened to me in my life allowed me to reflect, allowed me to resonate who I am, you know, especially when I got shot. You know, those things became so clear in terms of, hey, I almost wasn't here, you know, so why I have to worry about what someone else said that could hurt me and deteriorate me from becoming who I want to be. So, you know, that changed my mindset. You know, I remember early on when I used to go down on the court with my basketball and hearing all the words and hearing all the, you know, the criticism about me being short. But after I got shot, I remember going back down there and hearing those same criticisms about myself, but it didn't have the same impact. You know, it went in one ear, out the other, as I alluded to earlier. Everybody has some sort of opinion about who you are. Don't give them that platform. Don't give them the ammunition. That's their opinion. Don't mean that it's true about who you are. So, you know, anything is possible. Positive thinking is also translates to that. Everything happened for a reason. No regrets. All the negative things that happened, I'm thankful for it because I learned, hopefully I learned from those situations. And all the positive things. I'm humbly grateful that those were able to take place and still striving to be the best I can be. And, you know, going forward, hopefully I can pass some kids to be the best they can be. We're all human beings. Treat one as you would want to be treated.
You may be watching this right now, and you have these incredible ideas, and what you think is missing is motivation.
At some point, everything's going to go south on you. Everything's going to go south, and you're going to say, this is it. This is how I end. Now, you can either accept that, or you can get to work. That's all it is. You just begin. You do the math. You solve one problem, then you solve the next one.
400 trillion to 1. I just want everybody to hear this. This is the reason I'm happy 24/7, 365 for the rest of my life. 400 trillion to 1. The odds of becoming a human being.
If you want to be a grocer or a general or a politician or a judge, you will invariably become it. That is your punishment.
You can decide that you're going to stand up to life. You can decide that I'm going to live each day as if it were my last.
They've crunched the numbers on you being born. And do you realize that the odds of you at the moment in time he was born to the parents you were born to with the DNA structure that you have, 1 in 400 trillion.
If you never know what you want to be. If you live what some might call the dynamic life, but I will call the artistic life, if each day you are unsure of who you are and what you know, you will never become anything, and that is your reward.
If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating.
1 and 400 trillion. All day long you have ideas that could change your life, that could change the world, that could change the way that you feel. And what do you do with them?
Things we've worked the hardest for, we value the most. So I think, you know, the purpose of the goal is not getting it anyway. The purpose of the goal, you know, is who you become. Who you become is going to make you happy or going to make you sad. So I'm not looking for an effortless approach.
It's too late to be scared.
Not had an encouraging bloody word, a real encouraging word in their entire life. It just takes a little bit of encouragement and care so that they're willing to set themselves straight to some degree and start trying. It's just a catastrophe that's so rare in their lives.
That if you're doing something that you're not totally committed to, if you're doing something that you're not totally passionate about, you're compromising yourself every day.
Some people want to do ultra races. They're starting to PR during training. Some people want to be a lawyer or a medical student. So they're taking these practice tests. But guess what happens? Once you get to the actual event, your mind isn't ready. Your mind's not prepared. You've been studying. You've been training. You've been working out, but your mind's not prepared.
Transforming the walls into doors. Changing obstacles into opportunities.
By the time that they closed the second restaurant, it was an $800,000 loss. I mean, that meant our entire home equity went gone. It meant kids' college. I get just choked up just thinking about how terrifying it was. And so I found myself at the age of 41, like, just feeling like a complete failure. Because the way that our minds are wired, and the fact about human beings is that we are not designed to do things that are uncomfortable or scary or difficult. Our brains are designed to protect us from those things because our brains are trying to keep us alive. And in order to change, in order to build a business, in order to be the best parent, the best spouse, to do all those things that you know you want to do with your life, with your work, with your dreams, you're going to have to do things that are difficult, uncertain, or scary, which sets up this problem for all of us. You're never going to feel like it. Motivation's garbage. You only feel motivated to do the things that are easy, right? And at some point, I think we all hit that moment in life where things just are not going how you thought they would go. And what's amazing about those moments is we all respond very differently.
I believe desire and will to win is everything. I don't know why I'm like I am, but my butt's always burning. There's always something say, Art, dadgummit, you're supposed to go for it. Art, dadgummit, you're supposed to be somebody. You're supposed to make a difference with your life. What does the $500,000 a year person do? The $50,000 a year person doesn't do. You look at the outside and study those two individuals, everything seems to be the same. They both are the same sex, they both are the same age, they have the same training, the same positions, the same contract, the same fringe benefits. They both are successful, they work hard, they're good family people, make tough commitments. But what's the difference? What does the $500,000 a year person do the $50,000 a year person doesn't do? He pays the price and a little bit more. He works hard and a little bit more. He's loyal to the company and a little bit more. He believes in a little bit more. He makes money and a little bit more. He saves money and a little bit more. If you want to win in these United States, you got to be tough and you can't quit.
I wore one branch manager down to the point that he says to me, Gardner, based on persistence alone, we're going to give you a shot.
Because at some point, we all bought into this lie that you got to feel ready.
Not being where I was.
I came to realize it's that fear that's the worst of it. That's the real.
I will stand. I will put both of my feet in the ground. And I will stand for something, because if I don't stand for something, I'll fall for anything.
If you live your life just acting constantly on the momentum of other people's expectations, of you wanting to be liked by these other people.
So, get up. Get out in the real world.
Even we heal as a team, we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, but we're finished.
You are going to incur a lot of disappointment, a lot of failure, a lot of pain, a lot of setbacks, a lot of defeats. But in the process of doing that, you will discover some things about yourself that you don't know right now. What you will realize is that you have greatness within you. What you'll realize is that you're more powerful than you can ever begin to imagine. What you will realize is that you're greater than your circumstances, that you don't have to go through life being a victim. I was born in Miami, Florida, in an area called Liberty City, in an abandoned building on a hard linoleum floor. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality.
I mean, if you want this, if you want bling bling, if you want to buy the jets, if you want to do work, that's how you get it. How do you get money to do what you love? You don't, right? I lost a load of money when I started doing what I loved. What you do is you position yourself to succeed. So for example, if you're doing something else and you want to do this thing you love, you do it after hours. You work 9 to 6, you get home, you kiss the dog, and you go to town. Right? I mean, you start building your equity and your brand and whatever you're trying to accomplish after hours. Everybody has time. Stop watching Lost. The reason people aren't patient is they value other people's opinions too much. You need to bet on your strengths and don't give a f about what you suck at. Way too many people in this room are gonna spend the next 30, 40 years of their lives trying to check the boxes of the things that they're not as good at, and that you're gonna waste a load of time and lose. I highly recommend auditing yourself, or if you have no empathy or EQ or self-awareness, then find somebody in your family or friendship that does and let them tell you who you are. And once you believe that, either for yourself or someone else told you, go directly, all chips, all into that, because that is the only possible way, in my opinion, watching from the outside, that is, let me rephrase, that is a very highly likely way of over-indexing. Because the truth is, if you want to be an anomaly, you've got to act like it. I think there's massive confusion around entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship sucks. I mean, it's lonely, it's high risk. I mean, I can't live without it, but it's like a bad boyfriend, right? Or girlfriend, right? There's a ton of bad days being an entrepreneur. Not to mention 98% of entrepreneurial ventures are going to fail. So there's going to be a really bad day in your future. Ability to adjust is the entire game. Like, I'm so proud that I change my mind every day. My dad used to get so pissed when I was building Wine Library. He would always be like, he would say, 3 months ago you said Ricky was going to be the best employee. I'm like, I changed my mind. He should fire him. Or he's like, you said sparkling wine was important. Now you just eliminated it from the P spot. I'm like, I changed my mind. Like, my ability to only be comfortable in massive chaos has been my biggest asset as an entrepreneur. Like, I would never take a note. Like, that scares the piss out of me what these 3 people are doing right now. There should be some sort of friction from somebody who's leading up in front and sees everything and is driving a company versus people that work in it who are in the, like, they're different. Like, my job is to be like, oh, there's an iceberg. I'm going to move this way. And everybody who's downstairs is like, what do you mean? The water's been super clear the whole time. I'm like, no, there's an iceberg. But they're in the basement. They're like, it's been such a nice ride. Like, this has been so smooth. Leaders need to understand what's happening next. There are a million reasons why not, but there's one great reason why, which is you've just got to persevere, no matter what it is. It's just the way it is. It's hard being an entrepreneur. It's hard building a business. Everybody thinks it's so easy. What really pissed me off in tech world was when Steve Jobs' book came out, when he was dying, when it was all about Steve 3 or 4 years ago. I literally watched a lot of my tech startup friends start being like to their staff. Because Jobs was tough, everybody fell into the romance of like, I have this big vision and I'm gonna be like Steve, right? And I thought that was really interesting for me to watch that half decade of like literally watching people I know and then watching them act differently because the status or the icon of the moment. And you see a lot of that. And so like that is probably the energy I'm trying to bring to this class today, which is you can look at like how people roll and like it's great to admire and things of that nature, but it's so damn important to stick to like your DNA, right? And like what you're good at. In a success world, please understand that success is happiness, not net dollars in. We are strong as shit. We're really strong. We're just being sold that we're not because there's a lot of money. People always say they're going to do shit. The biggest epidemic in the world is people talking, not doing. And especially now, and people always do that. But now what social media does is expose people. It doesn't change people. All the hate in the system, that's exposing. Twitter didn't make you evil. You're evil, you know? And same with talking and not doing. Twitter, Instagram didn't make you waste time and not do. In 2001, it snowed in New Jersey on December 23rd, which was one of the busiest days of the year. Typically, December 23rd is the busiest day of the year in a liquor store. And a woman called us, we just started shipping, and her case of Beringer White Zinfandel wasn't delivered. First of all, I appreciate the people that know what Beringer White Zin is. Good job. The entire case, by the way, 15-pack. The entire 15-pack case cost $45. We're doing about $40,000 an hour in the store. She calls. I find out about it. Somehow it was buzzing because I was on the floor selling. I am the premier salesman on the floor, as you can imagine. I find out about it, and we're debating what to do. She needs it for her Christmas dinner. I grab the case, throw it in my car, and drive to Bergen County to deliver it. It takes me 2.5 hours to complete the whole thing. And the best part was, I delivered it, all pumped with myself, and she said, great, and closed the door. Awesome. Everybody, especially my dad, who was pissed that I left because all the customers that came in asking for me or that I could have sold, everybody was baffled. I can't tell you what the ROI of driving through the snow in my car to deliver a case of $45 pink to a woman that looked like Yoda was. But I can tell you this. Over the next 2 to 3 years, that story became the foundation of how we treated every single customer. It became our competitive edge. And those are the things that matter to me. You need to do you. Like, plenty of people that make a load more money than me and one bigger take notes. The key is way too many people are doing, like, here's a good one. You know what really pissed me off? I'm completely driven by like happiness and like I'm crippled by like chaos. Like I think I've fired 4 most talented, smartest people that have worked for me because if you don't know how to play with the other boys and girls, you're out because I suffocate under, conflict and negativity and like nobody's better than me, so you gotta go. Building a business is hard. And you know what makes it really hard? Everything that happens every day of every moment. So, you can pick time, you can pick money as the one or two things that you think stop you from winning your game, but the truth is, there's a million reasons. 99% of businesses go out of business for a reason, and that reason is, it's hard. And so, if you're watching this show, I've got a sense of who you are, and you need to start creating layers and layers and layers and layers brought to the idea. Uber was Magic Cab 3 years earlier. Uber is not an idea. Uber existed. It's called Magic Cab. But the guys that executed it sucked. So they lost. So I think, you know, if there's any level of romance left in this room about your idea, I'd like to suffocate it. Because I think the actual situation is what you actually do with it. If you do anything because of this keynote, there's only one thing I ask you to do. Because as zenny as I got, I'm a practical. Here's what I want from you. When you go home, look yourself in the mirror and audit everything you and your business do. I promise you that if you audit from top to bottom of expenses and effort and time and energy and payroll and all that, if you audit all of it, even the best of us, even the InBevs, which is the company that bought Budweiser, they built their whole business on like printing on both sides of the paper and all that work. Even the most efficient ones of us are doing 20% dumb shit. If you take that 8%, that 13%, that 16% of dumb that you're doing, paying that person that's not bringing any cultural value to your business, having that contract that you've just been in and you just renewed because you're busy as whatever the you're doing, if you take any piece of that percentage and you apply it to giving a about your customer, it will be better for your business going forward, because for the first time since we all lived in small towns where your reputation was the complete backbone of how you did business, for the first time, because technology is bringing us back together in a small town, for the first time, being good and caring and following up matters.
You gotta create that new norm. That has to be your lifestyle. You are the master of your own mind. Create that masterpiece. Be proud of yourself at the very end of it all.
We've kind of lost touch with the cultural narratives around death that gave it some meaning. So now when it happens, it's just this absurd, scary thing that we don't know what to do with. The only narrative we have absorbed, I guess, is that of the brave battle that someone's fighting.
If you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start.
That this is when we can bring our, if we have the opportunity to bring our stories to some kind of ending. Watch a film or read a book. That final scene makes sense of everything that's happened before. This doesn't happen in life. Author of our stories, more than at any point before death.
If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind.
Main characters are our loved ones or the doctors or people making all these decisions, and we kind of get sidelined.
Go all the way. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail. It could mean derision, mockery, isolation. Isolation is the gift.
It's not okay for you to be weak, loser. It's not okay. And the reason it's not okay is because you could be way more than that. And it's a crime, an ethical crime, for you to allow all that necessary potential to go to waste. It hurts you, it hurts your family, it hurts the world. Really, really, it does.
All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it, despite rejection and the worst odds.
Now, when I was 15 years old, I had a very important person in my life come to me and say, who's your hero? And I said, I don't know, I got to think about that. Give me a couple of weeks. I come back 2 weeks later. This person comes up and says, who's your hero? I said, I thought about it. You know who it is? I said, it's me in 10 years. So I turned 25 10 years later. That same person comes to me and goes, so are you a hero? And I was like, not even close. No. She said, why? I said, because my hero is me at 35. So you see, every day, every week, every month, and every year of my life, my hero is always 10 years away. I'm never going to be my hero. I'm not going to attain that. I know I'm not. And that's just fine with me because that keeps me with somebody to keep on chasing.
The only person I can really hold accountable was myself. The second I stopped blaming people and blaming myself, I changed.
It will be better than anything else you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like that. You will be alone with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. All the way. All the way. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It's the only good fight there is.
Tomorrow, they said. But tomorrow never came for them. It never came.
It's easy to sit on the edge of your bed and to think, there are things I'm doing, there are things I'm not doing, that I should be doing, that I could and would do. Small things. You don't want to get grandiose. But you can start to improve your life incrementally by eliminating those things that are self-evidently making you bitter and miserable. But you have to decide that that's what you want. You're willing to burn off that dead wood, to sacrifice that bitterness and that unhappiness, even though you may feel that you're justified in harboring it. You may even be justified in harboring it because people have very hard lives and sometimes they're very badly mistreated. You need to think it's okay if things improve, and it would be worthwhile for me to start to abandon those things that I'm doing that I know to be harmful to myself.
Every single person who has ever done anything worthwhile or exceptional or difficult or extraordinary, anyone, whether it's great artists or authors or mathematicians, everyone encounters difficulties. There is no easy road. It does not exist. It is impossible. Everyone has issues. When you come up with excuses for why other people are successful and you're not, we all go through hard times. We all go through depression. We all go through doubt and then moments in your life where it's really difficult and you're trying to figure out what your path is going to be. It's hard. That is what makes you a person. And those difficult moments are what build your character. Show me a great man who's the son of a great man. These kids that are born billionaires, you're never going to be a self-made person.
You think that successful people have some lucky charm. Well, let me tell you something. I woke up this morning and I couldn't find my lucky charm. I and other successful people wake up every day doing the same thing, fighting back against the distractions, the fears, the doubts. And we learn over time, we build into a habit to spend more time having control instead of more time being out of control. It does matter. It mattered last night when you laid down and you put your head on a pillow. You were going to get up this morning and you were going to make it matter. Everything you did today, were going to do today, was going to have a purpose behind it. It was going to matter.
If I want to be successful, I do it right now. Stop talking about the future and do not start on opening day. We get caught up in the Hollywood film version of opening a business, but it isn't reality. You don't arrive on day one and start serving customers in a shop front on Main Street. You start way before that. I speak to so many lost young men with dreams and aspirations of opening companies and businesses, but all of them without fail are waiting for the perfect situation to start. They're waiting for savings to accumulate. They are waiting for the right economy. But it will never be the right time to start, so you might as well get started now. The wind may be blowing the wrong way. It may be raining. It may be an economic crisis. But whatever is going on, you must get going.
It does matter. It mattered last night when you laid down and you put your head on a pillow. You were going to get up this morning and you were going to make it matter. Everything you did today, were going to do today, was going to have a purpose behind it. It was going to matter.
This is still an awesome life. There's still a lot of awesome shit to do. And don't think that you don't have opportunity. Consistency will knock the shit out of motivation every time. It's nice to have someone say that you're great or whatever, but like, to be totally honest, it never really matters to me. I'm not great. I just work really hard. I just hang on. I don't give up. Something I wanted to mention here is I hear people talking about how they have a hard time with consistency, and sometimes they have a hard time with motivation. A good way to handle motivation is to eliminate it as a factor. Sometimes the greatest decision you can make is no decision. Sometimes the easiest thing to do when you struggle with something is to abstain from it. You have a drug addiction, you have a sex addiction, you have a food addiction. Fasting, not allowing yourself to make any choices, eliminates a lot of the confusion and struggle and poor decision-making skills that you tend to make each and every day with your food because you're fatigued, you're stressed, and so on. The same thing is true with motivation. If we just don't really worry about how motivated we are and we just go and do, then that kind of settles that. You're already in it. You're already on it. You're already after it. You're already going, right? Now, how do you get someone to do that? That's the tough part. But it ain't that hard, because I got advices for you. Here's what I would do. Here's what I would suggest. Things need to have a very strong, you always need a strong foundation. If you have a strong foundation, that's always something you can pivot back off of again. If you don't have something strong, you got something wobbly, it's not gonna really work in the long term. It can work in the short term, which is cool, so you can get your momentum towards your goals, but we need stuff that's gonna really work in the long term. And what's gonna work in the long term is to just have a schedule. Try to have a schedule, even if you don't feel like that you're not, let's just say you don't feel like you're an organized person. Let me just share something with you guys about that. I don't feel like I'm an organized person, but I'm a lot more organized today than I've ever been in my life. And some people may identify me as not being very organized. But if you had to do the shit that I did in a day, your motherfucking head would be spinning too. And look, I'm not complaining. This is stuff that I choose to do, right? Changing your dialogue is really important, and changing the message you give yourself. So if you don't feel like you're an organized person, that's okay. It's okay to identify that as a weakness. But that doesn't mean that you can't learn it. And that doesn't mean that we can't get on a schedule. And that doesn't mean that we can't get on point. And that doesn't mean we can't build consistency. Because consistency will knock the shit out of motivation every time. It will knock the shit out of motivation every time. If we can build consistency, we ain't got to worry about how fired up we are to go do something. You can be in a good mood. You can be in a bad mood. You could be in a sad mood. You could be in a shit mood. You can find out the worst thing, and you will just shrug it off and be like, this is what I'm doing. That's the way I handle my workouts, is I just schedule them. We're doing this. And like, they're not scheduled like weeks out. You know, for some of you, you may want to try to, have a specific routine. I don't really love routine, but I do flourish on it. I'll admit that. And I think that's probably true with everybody. Everyone probably, there's a reason why the military works the way that it does, why they're able to produce leaders the way that they are. Because there's a routine involved, and people respond really well to routine. Look at how broken a lot of the people are that go into the military, and look how strong they are sometimes when they come out. And we all admire that, right? What did they do that's special? They exercised really hard, right? They got on a schedule, and we're all amazed at the discipline. And we're like, man, how do they stay so motivated? There's no motivation. It's a schedule. It's a routine. We're doing this, and then we're doing that. I have never experienced military training. I have never experienced what it would be like, but I can only imagine. Everybody kind of knows what their schedule is. If you're having a hard time with consistency with your training, write down when you want to train. The day before. 24 hours ahead of time. So whenever you're done with your last training session, if you finish a training session at 4 p.m. and you're like, I'd really love to train tomorrow morning. I'd love to train at like 6 and see what that feels like. Write it down. None of this maybe bullshit. None of this, hey, if I'm feeling it, I'm going to go and I'm going to go give it hell. None of that shit. That is bullshit. Understand that myself and many other, quote unquote fitness professionals, fitness gurus, or whatever you want to call people, understand that we hate it sometimes too, and we don't want to do it sometimes too. We love it, and I realize, look, there's way worse things to cry about in this world than going in and doing a hard training session. So I'm not trying to be a bitch about it. I'm not trying to be a baby about it. I'm very grateful for the life that I have, and I'm very grateful that we have the freedom in this country where I can go play weightlifter for the day. I can go play powerlifter for the day. I can go, exercise and pretend to be a bodybuilder or whatever, right? Like, what an amazing, that's something that you should all realize, right? Like, you hear people talking a lot about gratitude. Well, I'm very grateful. I have a lot of gratitude towards that fact. Everyone's life is a little different. People have different amounts of money and different things like that, but this is still an awesome life. There's still a lot of awesome shit to do. And don't think that you don't have opportunity. You have many of the same exact opportunities that I have or anybody else. It always seems like The Rock is on cloud 9, right? It seems like he has so much, right? But what does he have? He probably has great people around him. It seems like he has a great significant other. It seems like he has a great family. It seems like he has a great job. We all have the same exact right towards happiness as The Rock does. We all possess the ability to be just as happy as him. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Are you downloading this shit? Are you on page 43? Because that's the page that you need to be on. Why? Because I said so. We're on page 43. That's the page that we're on. That's the page we're always on. We're never on any other page. Because we got to be on the same page, class. Guys, write it down. Write shit down. Write shit down. I don't like to write stuff down, but I respond really well to it. How do you make yourself accountable? Find a training partner and text them. Say 4 a.m. That just means see you tomorrow at 4 a.m. You have to be there at 4 a.m. And what happens when you miss?